This is ESBR Boxing's YouTube channel. Delighted, as always, to be joined by Dan Morley. Dan, good to be joined by you. I think it's the first time we're doing one of these. We have spoken before, but yet really do appreciate some time. Looking forward to covering a few things with you. But I do want to ask, you're quite a unique person in the sport, really. You're not necessarily you're not just a boxer. You've done punditry work. You're known for the content you're creating as well. You're back boxing now and a fight at the end of September. How has life been for you recently?
Yeah, it's been good. It's yeah, it's kind of how I've always wanted it to be, really, as an adult. I've been doing some work for Boxing News. I've been pumping out sort of 3, 4 videos a day, so I'm still doing that. About fighters, my lists, training hard, sort of training sort of every day. So yeah, it's really good. I've been writing articles as well. I do a little bit of work, so it's pretty busy, to be honest with you. But compared to before I took the break, it's amazing. I've got some of my idols following the page and following my career now, and I've got opportunities to work for the magazines and boxing publishers that I've read for my whole adult life. So it's amazing.
Yeah, look, it's fantastic. Obviously, I think people know you for different reasons. I think personally, I just kind of see videos that you post on your Instagram page pop up, and they're kind of, I think if you're involved in boxing and you go on social media, it's hard. They're hard to avoid, which is a great thing for you. The algorithm's working in your favor. It's are you obviously you had your return fight recently. You had a little bit of time at the ring. That fight, obviously, stoppage victory, which I'm sure you were happy with. Are you now fully kind of, is boxing your main thing now in terms of actually being in the ring? Is it just like how much of it is part of your life? Because I know you've got to be kind of hugely dedicated to it, but you've got so much going on. How much you've kind of really focused on boxing now that you're back?
Yeah, no, entirely. I mean, I've always been the kind of person that wants to do other stuff as well, but I'm fully aware that boxing isn't something you can kind of half-ass. You got to put everything in. So yeah, as I say, I'm training, right now 9 times a week. I'm dieting, resting, all around the boxing. Luckily, the way I've been able to organize it is everything I can do, I can kind of do from my house, or very rarely go into a studio, but it's all stuff that I'm doing anyway. It's almost better for my boxing with everything I'm doing, because all I'm doing is watching boxing, writing about boxing, making videos about boxing. And one of the main reasons I make all these videos and produce all this content is because I believe that all of this stuff seeps in subconsciously, and if you do put in the work, it actually, it really helps with your ring IQ. So since I've been back, now my training has been. I always train hard because I know what it's like to not train hard from the amateur days and take a pasting. So I never want that to happen again, and I respect the sport, and I know you've got to give everything. So since I've been back training and after watching all of this boxing over the last few years, I've enjoyed it a lot more. I found the training process a lot, especially the sparring, a lot more natural and fluid, and stuff's working that's never worked before. So yeah, I'm still dedicated to it. It's my main passion, my main
Yeah.
objective, and yeah.
No, brilliant. Well, I do want to ask, do you ever have to rein it in a bit in regards to, obviously, your life is boxing, you're spending so many hours of the day on boxing in one way or another. Do you have to make an effort to spend time not doing things boxing related out of fear of kind of any sort of burnout, or are you okay just to full on just kind of be doing boxing stuff from when you wake up to when you go to sleep?
Yeah, I've never had burnout with boxing. I've had burnout with the politics of professional boxing, and just you know what I mean, all of that, and just training relentlessly and not getting anywhere because of all of the politics with the sport and the financial regard of it. That's burnt me out. But I do love boxing, and I span across all eras. So I'm not just, watching the same fights over again or watching the same thing. Of course, it's not all I do. I do lots outside as well. I've got a family, I've got friends, I've got a girlfriend, that I've been with for a long time, and they're all very understanding. So they allow me to delve into that. But I've got quite a not an active social life because I train a lot, but I get out and about and I do things. I do all sorts. I watch telly, I go out and play pool and snooker, and just see my friends and stuff. So I'm a pretty busy person anyway. But I just I love all this stuff and I'm passionate about it. And like in the way, well, I'll probably have to rein in those massive lists I do. That's one thing, because like that gets the brain triggered constantly from start to finish. Say I don't know, I just did the top 50 American fighters of all time, and like there's like 400 that could make that top 50, and doing all the research into that gets a little bit. It's a bit of a wormhole eventually, but like I say, I love it, and then I'll have a little break from it and just post little clips of fights and then do another one.
Yeah, no, fantastic. And as I said, you're not your kind of your standard your standard person to speak to. So it is really interesting. Just want to kind of dive into that a little bit more, but focusing on boxing. September 28th. This is about 4 weeks from when we're speaking. What can we expect? Is there an opponent? How many rounds are you fighting? What can you tell us about September 28th, Dan?
Yeah, so to be honest with you, opponent, I don't really know right now. I just want to keep busy. The objective of that first fight was to get rounds in, so we got an opponent that was game and would come forward and give me openings. But he'd never been stopped, and he sort of prided himself on his toughness. So to get him out there within a minute, it was a very good body shot. But I was a bit like, oh man, I'm gonna have to do that again now, because I've only had 45 seconds of actual action in the last 2.5 rounds. So I think this is going to be a 6 rounder. Hopefully, get a couple of rounds in. I'll always take stoppages because they look good on the record. But hopefully, get a few rounds in. And then I want to push on into the 10 rounders sort of early next year. Maybe depending on if I go in and stop the opponent in the first round again, I need rounds. So it all depends on how this one goes.
Yeah.
And yeah, just try and shake off the ring rust. That although I looked sharp in that last one and I felt sharp, you can't have 2 years out and then just have one round and go straight into title fight. So this will be just a keep busy fight, just to get back into the swing of it.
Fantastic. Well, yeah, looking forward to seeing you back in action September 28th, and we'll see what happens. What's the I do want to ask Dan, what's kind of the plan for you? This will be your tenth professional fight in September. Obviously, you've won every fight so far. You've mentioned the word titles there. Do you think we will see you fight for a title in 2025?
Oh yeah, undeniably. Like I'm a 7 year pro now. Do you know what I mean? I'm not just starting off. I turned pro when I was 6 year pro. I turned pro when I was 21 and I'm 27 now. Yeah, I found boxing as a professional to be frustrating, to be honest with you, because unfortunate timing, same with everyone else. 2 years out with COVID, and then I've spoke about why I took the break so many times, but 2 years out for the break. That's 4 of those sort of 6.5 years that I've been out of the ring. So although I am a 7 year pro and I've been in the gym, I've only had sort of 9, 10 fights. So I want to push on for titles now. When I was, well, I am active now, but when I was active before, I was eager to take those hard fights. And when the Isaacs fight came up, undefeated kid pushing on for titles, I took it within a heartbeat. So I'm eager and willing to take those fights. As I've just said, I have to listen to my coaches, because, I would take the title fight straight away next, the Southern area or whatever. But I'm aware that you kind of have to respect the sport and build your way back in. But yeah, I mean, when I boxed Isaacs, that was a fight worthy of winning that title. It's a fight to talk about. Had he have had more fights, he would have gone on to win more titles, I'm sure, because he's a very good fighter. So I would like to pick that title up, and then hopefully at the end of next year push on towards the English. But we'll see. I just want to keep busy.
Yeah, no, of courall Yeah, look, just really excited to kind of see this next stage of your career and beyond. Just a couple more things I just want to touch on with you, Dan, because I know you mentioned frustration there with parts of boxing. I can imagine it's a very frustrating sport to be involved in terms of fights not getting made, late pullouts, that sort of thing. I wanted to touch on a lot of these. We're getting a lot of kind of Saudi cards, obviously happening in Saudi. We had one happening in Los Angeles recently. We've got one obviously at Wembley Stadium on September 21st. But there are some people kind of saying that if you're not on one of those Saudi cards, it feels like big fights happening in the UK, which obviously means big undercards don't seem to be happening as much. And maybe for somebody who's in your position now,
Mm.
opportunities could be more few and far between in regards to getting on a TV undercard. Because yeah, the big fights, if they're not part of Riyadh season, don't seem to be happening as much. Is that something that's crossed your mind at all? Kind of big opportunities for fighters like yourself?
No, I haven't really thought about it, to be honest. I mean, you do get fighters of, I wouldn't say the lower levels, but the sort of domestic levels on those cards. I guess you've just got to drum up enough interest, and that's something I've learned sort of the hard way. Is it's all about drumming up interest. And there's still good domestic fights to be made here. I mean, yeah, jumping on like an Anthony Joshua on the card, that's not an easy thing to do anyway, even if it was in the UK. So it's only really those massive fights that are going out to Saudi. And yeah, I mean, if you can get on them, you can make loads of money as well. But I see Jack McGann boxed Roberto Duran Jr. On one of those undercards, and Duran Jr. was a fight that was offered to me after the Isaacs fight, and
Mm.
unfortunately it didn't happen. But I would have loved for that fight to have happened. So, that's just one step away from, if I had been active around that time, it might have been me that got the opportunity. You just never know. So
Yeah,
yeah, I think that's why I took the break is because I said it so many times, but I think I'd made like £500 in 6 months as a boxer in the last 6 months as a pro, and you need to drum up interest in your career because just staying in the ring and staying active is not impossible, but it's just ridiculously hard to build up to that level. So drum up your interest and hopefully keep fighting. Those fights will come.
brilliant. You mentioned kind of drumming up interest there, and obviously you're in a position where you need to sell tickets. Since your social media, you've been on TV and your social media channels are popping off. Do you find it easier to sell tickets now? Are you selling more tickets? I know you just had one fight the last couple of years, but do you find that kind of shift has changed and there's more interest in you?
To be honest with you, I was always a good ticket seller. I could always sell tickets. So I think I sold about nearly 275 tickets for Isaacs, which is quite a lot on the small hall
Yeah,
scene. Everyone else is selling tickets. There's definitely been a lot more interest, and I think that's what matters. I think actually selling tickets, you don't make any money off that anyway. Really, even if you sell a load of them, you can make a little bit, but it's not going to be life changing. But I think the actual interest in the fight is what really matters. I think I could keep taking it back to the Isaacs fight, but that was like a fight of the year contender. But this first round knockout I had against a tough journeyman, I think it had, you got like over 150,000 views and within a couple of days on Instagram. So, and I think the first two videos I posted on Instagram got about 750 comments or something combined. So there was so much more interest in that around the world than there was for the actual toughest fight of my career. So yeah, tickets have kind of been the same really. That will continue to build. But the interest overall and it's mad, man. Like I was warming up, getting my hands wrapped, and someone sends me a video, and it's like Roy Jones Jr. and he's like, "What up, Dan? Good luck
yeah.
tonight."
Hmm.
Like, you know what I mean? So all of that stuff is good, and that it's going to continue to build as well. And all I have to do is just keep posting the videos, which is like a hobby for me anyway, and just keep fighting and training hard and winning.
No, fantastic. Well, yeah, look, I covered quite a lot then. Obviously, we wish you all the best of September 28th. Before I let you go, Dan, there's a fight happening the weekend before September 28th, which I do want to get your opinion on. Anthony Joshua, Daniel Dubois, obviously, but one of the biggest fights to take to take place this year. Um, it feels like a lot of people aren't giving Dubois a massive chance for this fight. Where do you stand in it? What are your thoughts on this one?
I mean, initially, when I watched it back, you see Joshua's resurgence in the last couple of fights, and Dubois as well. I mean, he's shown he's got a lot of heart in the last couple of fights. He's really scored some good victories, especially that Hrgovic one. But with just with the right hand, I know it was only Francis Ngannou who again gave Tyson Fury a good fight, but that right hand, man, it's a missile that Joshua lets go, and I just see how easily Hrgovic was landing on
Mm.
Dubois. So I do think that Joshua will catch him and probably knock him out. But again, like Joshua's whole resurgence since those Usyk losses, which I always say, like, there's nothing wrong with losing to Usyk, and even Andy Ruiz, like, they're good fighters. But his confidence did seem low, and everyone's sort of saying, "Oh, he's back," he's blasting people away. But Ngannou, Hellenius, and Otto Wallin, they didn't really push him. So I think Daniel Dubois will push him. And Dubois himself has answered those questions in the last couple of fights. So I think Dubois will definitely be able to give him a good fight. He definitely cracks. I think he'll come forward, and his pressure is good, and he's on a good run of form himself. But I just think if he walks into those right hands, he ain't going to take them from Joshua. And Joshua has a really strong jab as well. So it really depends. I think it'll either be Joshua will just sort of keep catching him as he comes in and blast him away early. But if the fight goes on, then Dubois will be able to ask them questions, and he's mega strong as well. So yeah, it could be interesting, but I'm of the opinion that if Dubois is as easy to hit with the right hand as he was against Hrgovic, Joshua packs a lot more power in that right hand.
No, brilliant. Final one from me, Dan. It's a long way away, but you mentioned Usyk there. Rematch still. Look, we've got nearly 4 months to go until Tyson Fury and Usyk do it again. Um, any thoughts on that one? I mean, I think Usyk will be the favorite. I've seen some people recently saying they think Tyson Fury can turn it around. What do you think?
Well, I was always of the opinion, and I'm a massive Usyk fan, but I was always of the opinion that Fury would have won that first fight because the way it went over the middle rounds is how I expected it to go. Eventually, like Fury would struggle, and then his size and his whole aura and his the awkward shots he throws would have eventually slowed Usyk down. And I remember watching that, and probably around 5, 6, 7 rounds, 5, 6, 7. I remember thinking, right, he's walked him down. He's going to stop him soon. But Usyk just has that next level, and there was a bit in the corner where he just sort of took a deep breath and just took it to a new level, and ultimately a level Fury wasn't able to reach. You'd never write Fury off. I mean, he's 6'9". He can punch. He hurt Usyk in that fight. Usyk said it. And he did throw a couple of those moments in rounds away, sort of messing around with his hands on the ropes. So he was 100% switched on because that was a very close fight, even though Usyk definitely did deserve to win. If he's 100% switched on for the whole fight, of course he can beat Usyk. However, I do think Usyk is just always 100%. He always turns up. He's always on form. We know he can hurt Fury now. We know that style gives Fury problems. So yeah, it's an intriguing fight, but I think you would favour Usyk slightly. But yeah, Tyson Fury's a brilliant fighter, and he was brilliant in that fight. It's one of his better performances, other than when he was messing around on the rope. So if he comes in a little sharper, a little more focused, then yeah, of course he can beat him. But I'd probably go Usyk, to be honest with you.
Yeah, we'll see. All right, Dan, I've taken up enough of your time. I know you're a very busy man. Thank you so much for your time. All the best for September 28th. Really, really appreciate it.
Nice, a pleasure. Thank you, and I appreciate it. Cheers.